Hi, there's a lot of content on YouTube, and one thing that's super important is that we always check in with ourselves because there are a lot of false teachings, false gurus, and it's very important to remember that we are each the authority of our own lives, that we are allowed to question things and to beware of people who say they know better than you, who have all the answers, who get mad when you question them. And that includes the manosphere, which has a lot of very black and white thinking that is negative against women, negative things against women. And if you watch videos like that, you can be led astray into a very false view of the world based on black and white thinking that is very negative. Also, I like to watch different YouTube videos about people who've fallen from grace just because I think it's kind of hilarious. Um, so you can watch all those yourself. I don't want to name any names, but the important thing is to not put anyone else on a pedestal or to have other people tell you this is how the world is. All men are this way. All women are this way. It is simply not true. Women have all kinds of characteristics and men have all kinds of characteristics, which is why I still think that most people are really, really unhappy in their relationships, not because all women are bad or all men are bad, but because a lot of people grew up in traumatized families and they're repeating the trauma cycle. So they saw their mother being codependent on the dad, and this is especially common in religious communities where women are taught to be submissive to their husband who is abusive. And the women don't even realize they're being abused because they saw mom being abused by dad. So they think that's normal, and they really internally believe if I were just a better wife, or, he just had a hard day at work. You know, he had a hard childhood. They make excuses, and they think that they have the power to change him by being more loving, being kinder, being more patient. And often the church corroborates that because many priests also grew up in families where the father was abusive to the mother. And so now their children are all seeing this, and the women will go for abusive men because that's familiar and that's all they know. And the boys will become abusive men because that's what they learned. So they're repeating the cycle. There's a gentleman I came across on YouTube yesterday who wrote a lot of books about this. Okay, his name is Dr. David Clarke, PhD, with an E at the end of Clark. He's written a number of books, and he comes at it from a religious perspective. I'm not religious, but I just ordered 2 of his books, and one of them is called Enough is Enough, in which he says the first step in working with abused women is to show them that they are indeed being abused. And this is very difficult because they will defend their abuser. They don't even realize they're being abused. I think the same goes for women who are, he also wrote another book about women who are unhappy in their relationships because their husband is intimacy deficient. I ordered that book also because I was married to a guy like that. And what you can do about it, or just to recognize it, because a lot of times a woman will think, well, if I'm just more loving, if I'm just more patient, this is how men are, this is how my life is. You don't even realize that you're being neglected, in my case, which is a very small thing, or you're being abused, which is a much bigger thing. We don't realize that we're not in a healthy relationship. That's what I wanted to say. We do not even realize when we're in an unhealthy relationship if we've never been grown up seeing a healthy relationship. Okay, and likewise, we do not know how to interact personally unless we have experienced it or been taught it or somehow, figured it out on our own, I guess. So that's the first thing I want to say, is that there are so many women in abusive relationships who think that if they can just be more loving, more submissive, or somehow they have to put up with it, or this is just how men are. And there's a reason that 80% of divorces are filed by women. And that reminds me of, what Dr. Clark was saying in one of the YouTube interviews I watched, that initially, the gentleman he interviewed is also, he has a channel about narcissism, and he wanted to help the men. So he had all these ideas about how to help men be better in their relationships. And then he was told that men do not read these self-help books. The majority of self-help books on relationships are read by women. So if he wanted to help women, it wouldn't be by writing books for men to be better husbands. It would be teaching the women how to be empowered and what they deserve. And I remember John Gray said the same thing, that his books were mostly read by women. And I think because we're emotional creatures and we love relationships, and relationships are really important to us, healthy relationships. When we're unhappy in relationships, we are more likely, I think, to take responsibility, to read books, to go into therapy, and then ultimately, if the man isn't interested in coming along for any of it, to file for divorce. And I think that's the real reason that women file 80% of divorces, is because they're so unhappy in their relationships. They've read all the books, they've gone to the therapy, they've tried all these things, and the man is just emotionally tuned out, or he is, at worst, at best, he's emotionally tuned out and emotionally neglectful, as was in my case, and he doesn't want to change at all. Or at the worst, he's very abusive and she finally leaves him. I think that is the reason that women are filing the majority of divorces. Because, see, people used to stay married no matter how unpleasant it was, because we really needed each other for economic reasons, and we weren't able to go our own way. But now people expect more out of their lives. They do not want to be invalidated, ignored, neglected, lied to, abused, cheated on. And women are more in tune with their emotions and with the quality of the relationship. They are more likely to say, I can't do this anymore. Now, sometimes the man will file for divorce, I guess, but I don't know. The statistics are that women are usually filing. Women are saying that I will not put up with this anymore. And again, that's why I think that the idea of relationships has been completely oversold. The fact is that I think most people in relationships are not happy in their relationships. You need a couple of skills to be good in relationships, okay? You have to know how to interact with people. You have to be somewhat easygoing. You have to be able to self-soothe, and you have to be able to repair. And you need some communication skills, like not cutting people off if they don't do what you want, to be able to communicate and to be able to hold yourself in your various emotional states. And people who grew up in traumatized childhoods are going to be very poor in relationship, because they will either replay the abuse, or they will be very volatile, or they will have mental health issues or addiction issues, and all of that makes them very poor partners for people who actually want to have some satisfaction in their relationship. I do think there's some people who do meet someone who's a really good friend, who's equally healthy, and they can have a happy relationship. But I think that most people are just putting up with. Now, and also, in order to remain romantically and sexually attractive to a woman, a man has to he cannot be a people pleaser, okay? Because that's a turn off, especially after a while. But he also has to be able to be present with her emotions and have some ability to be emotionally intimate and care how she feels. Ideally, a relationship is not just a safe space, but a space you can be more of yourself. More of yourself. Like, this person makes your life better for being in it, just like a friend would. And I know I have a lot of videos on my channel about how I want a relationship, but I don't anymore. I really think that they're overrated in our society. There are a lot of false promises made, about, your life will be better if you have this partner, or if you have, this amount of money, or this or that. I think that healthy relationships are important, and the most healthy relationship I can have is the relationship with myself. And when I'm alone by myself, there's no one who bothers me. Like, my life is peaceful, my life is happy. Then I get together with my friends or with clients, and I enjoy their company, and then they can go because I can always come home to myself. I just think this whole idea of relationship is overrated. There's too much fusion. Then some people are like, well, I'll be this whole polyamory thing. I don't think that polyamory really works for most people because they get jealous, especially when your partner falls in love with someone else. I do not know how they successfully last for most people. So I have become kind of bearish on relationships, you guys. Bearish on relationships. And the reason is that I think most people just do not know how to be in one in a way that is mutually beneficial. So that's it. I really think that Dr. David Clark is a super interesting person. He's got a bunch of videos on YouTube. You might want to check them out. And again, as a person who works with men around their unhappy relationships, I see a lot of men that are in unhappy relationships. That's why I'm making this video. And I know a lot of men and women who never want to be in a relationship. And so this is just what I see. And I could have like a very biased view of everything. But, I just think that relationships have been oversold to us as the cure for something, when it really just adds another level of complexity to our lives. And the number of people who are healthy enough to actually add to our lives, I think that's the issue at hand. Because not only do we have to find someone who is emotionally healthy, but also someone who fits in with our lives. Like, if you want a travel partner and your other person is a homebody, or you really value a healthy lifestyle, but you're with someone who eats junk food. All these things throw people off. So I'm just really bearish. This is a gloom and doom video about relationships are oversold for the majority of people. I do know some people who are happy in their relationships, okay? But I just think it's pretty rare. That's what I think. Enjoy the comments and leave your comments and have your discussion. I don't read the comments anymore because they're usually not uplifting, because YouTube lets anybody make an account, say whatever they want. There's no verification, and sometimes they're just not uplifting. So I just want to be around things that are uplifting. And thank you for watching my video. I know a lot of you guys, most of you guys watching the video are like super awesome people, but in between every 10th comment can be something really mean to me, and I don't want to read that mean stuff. So I'm going to miss out on the good comments as well, unfortunately.